where do I begin on this article? You know, he pulls the Jew card in here. The Jewry, you know, that'll heat me up in a heartbeat. I hate when they try to say that everybody in the movement is anti-Semitic when it's the furthest thing from the truth. And then he misinterprets what happens on the BBC broadcast where they tell you that World Trade Center Building 7 has collapsed basically 20-plus minutes before it actually happened. He also makes the false claim that Benjamin Chertoff and Michael Chertoff are not cousins, despite the fact that somebody called up Chertoff's mother, Benjamin Chertoff's mother, asked her and said, of course they're cousins. They had a dinner the other day. And the real thing that lets you know that Benjamin Chertoff is not impartial, he did a couple interviews. He was not the person or one of the people that I debated from Popular Mechanics, and he totally faded off. He's in none of the specials at all. They got Davin Coburn, David Dunbar, and of course their big front man, Jimmy Meggs, to kind of head it up after Benjamin was outed as Chertoff's cousin. But he'll say, no, they're not cousins. That's totally incorrect. They are cousins. Just because they deny it doesn't make it so. I wish that if somebody could send me some paperwork proving that, that would be even better. But I'm going to get into this article big time in a moment. I'm going to take some calls first. Steven in Texas, you're on the line, sir.
Yeah, hey, good evening, Jason. Hey, first of all, I just wanted to say, you guys, you're supposed to be, I guess they're supposed to be coming out with some ringtones for you as well as Alex.
That is true. I have to just record those. They're not pulling them directly from the radio show. And Rob Jacobs has just been in the storeroom going through all these different boxes. He actually brought me today out of the storage room. He brought me an official Bohemian Grove windbreaker, a staff pass.
Wow.
Yeah, a Bohemian Grove staff polo, a bunch of cremation of care stuff where you can actually see, they list who's actually taking part in the ceremony from 2004 and 2005, and just some really, really cool stuff. Go ahead.
Wow, the latest in New World Order fashions. Great.
Well, I'll be wearing it this July 14th or 15th when I do my big Bohemian Grove Club show. I'm going to get all decked out. Actually, there's a couple of new hats in there, too, so I'll be able to change hats during the show, go over the annal, and really explain the significance of Bohemian Grove. And for people listening out there, I'm also going to be showing some clips from my new film that have never hit the internet ever concerning the Bohemian Grove, so get excited for that one. Go ahead, Stephen.
Well, I have a suggestion for your very first ringtone.
Mm-hmm.
Miley Cyrus is a fat retard.
She isn't even fat. She's fat-headed for thinking that you shouldn't be able to criticize people on the internet. I mean, obviously the girl isn't fat. The problem is she's an international sensation right now, being promoted by Disney. She had the #1 movie in the world when it dropped. Little girls love her. I see her stuff marketed all over the place in Walmart and Target and every other store across the country. And for her to get behind this means that the youth will get behind it without knowing what it's really about.
Yeah. And the other day you were talking about this guy Phil Snyder and his aliens underground and UFOs and all that.
Yeah.
And before I get to the main reason I called, I just want to say I caught something you said, whether you realized it or not, while you were talking about that. You actually made it funny because you said, I'm not trying to alienate anyone.
Well, I'm not trying to alienate people, but at the same time, how do you take one guy's word for everything from a super underground government battle with gray aliens who also have their own underground base right next to the United States government underground base? I mean, if that doesn't sound like kookery off the bat when you can't document a thing about it, I don't know what does.
Yeah, definitely. Have you ever, I know you've heard of this, and people have always quoted the last line of this speech, but, one of the greatest patriot founding fathers we have is Patrick Henry. He's one of my heroes. Have you ever read his speech where the last line is what they quote, give me liberty or give me death? Have you ever read the whole thing?
No, I'd be lying if I said I did.
Oh, man, I'm telling you. What I'd like to do is just quote from this if I could.
Sure.
Okay. He addressed the Continental Congress on March 23rd, 1775. Here's what he said. And I hear a lot of Alex Jones in this. Now, see the parallels. He said, no man thinks more highly than I do of the patriotism as well as abilities of the very worthy gentlemen who have just addressed the House. but different men often see the same subject in different lights, and therefore I hope it will not be thought disrespectful to those gentlemen if, entertaining as I do opinions of a character very opposite to theirs, I shall speak forth my sentiments freely and without reserve. This is no time for ceremonies. What he was addressing was they were trying to appease the King of England and basically, I'm trying to think of the word, but,
pander to him?
Negotiate with him, right,
okay.
Pander to him. And so the essence of what he says is, that's done. We can't do that. And he goes into, he says, Mr. President, it is natural to man to indulge in the illusions of hope. We are apt to shut our eyes against a painful truth and listen to the song of that siren till she transforms us into beasts. Is this the part of wise men engaged in a great and arduous struggle for liberty? Are we disposed to be of the number of those who, having eyes, see not, and having ears, hear not, the things which so nearly concern their temporal salvation? For my part, whatever anguish of spirit it may cost, I am willing to know the whole truth, to know the worst, and to provide for it. And then he says, I have but one lamp by which my feet are guided, and that is the lamp of experience. I know of no way of judging of the future but by the past. And judging by the past, I wish to know what there has been in the conduct of the British ministry for the last 10 years to justify those hopes with which gentlemen have been pleased to solace themselves and the House. Is it that insidious smile with which our petitions have been lately received? Trust it not, sir. It will prove a snare to your feet. Suffer not yourselves to be betrayed with a kiss. Ask yourselves how this gracious reception of our petition comports with those warlike preparations which cover our waters and darken our land. Are fleets and armies necessary to a work of love and reconciliation? Have we shown ourselves so unwilling to be reconciled that force must be called in to win back our love? Let us not deceive ourselves, sir. These are implements of war and subjugation, the last argument to which kings resort. I ask, gentlemen, sir, what means this martial array if its purpose be not to force us to submission? Can gentlemen assign any other possible motive for it? Has Great Britain any enemy in this quarter of the world to call for all this accumulation of navies and armies? No, sir, she has none. They are meant for us. They can be meant for no other. They are sent over to bind and rivet upon us those chains which the British ministry have been so long forging. And what have we to oppose to them? Shall we try argument? Sir, we have been trying that for the last 10 years. Have we anything new to offer upon the subject? Nothing. We have held the subject up in every light of which it is capable, but it has been all in vain. Shall we resort to entreaty and humble supplication? What terms shall we find which have not been already exhausted? Let us not, I beseech you, sir, deceive ourselves. Sir, we have done everything that could be done to avert the storm which is now coming on. We have petitioned, we have remonstrated, we have supplicated, we have prostrated ourselves before the throne, have implored its interposition to arrest the tyrannical hands of the ministry and parliament. Our petitions have been slighted, our remonstrances have produced additional violence and insult, our supplications have been disregarded, and we have been spurned with contempt from the foot of the throne. In vain after these things may we indulge the fond hope of peace and reconciliation. There is no longer any room for hope. If we wish to be free, if we mean to preserve inviolate those inestimable privileges for which we have been so long contending, if we mean not basely to abandon the noble struggle in which we have been so long engaged, and which we have pledged ourselves never to abandon until the glorious object of our contest shall be obtained, we must fight. I repeat it, sir, we must fight. An appeal to arms and to the God of hosts is all that is left us. Now, I won't finish the rest of it, but that's the gist of it. He's saying the time for talk is over. We got to go to action, and we're going to have to fight these suckers, and that's the only way we're going to fend them off.
That's right. As they smile in your face and lie to you, I thank you for the call, Stephen. You know, I mean, that's why we have a Second Amendment, folks. I mean, obviously it's a God-given right, but it's, you know, to defend yourselves against a tyrannical government. And like Patrick Henry said in that thing, you know, why are these navies amassing? Why are these armies on our shore? There is no enemy other than the people. So why do we have DHS in this country? Why are we bringing over privatized military forces? Why are we holding NLE 09, a large FEMA, DHS, international terrorist